Moving into this year, it's exciting to think about purchasing a new home, buying up, or even scaling down. But to hear our tips and tricks for buyers, stay tuned to this episode of The Den.
The Den, powered by the Lyons Group, a show dedicated to exploring hot topics in real estate, local happenings, and industry trends. We're a small team of professionals approaching $400 million in sales and nearly 2,000 local transactions. You're listening to time-tested experts and industry leaders. Here's a refreshing look at real estate happenings and more. Welcome to The Den.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Den. And today we're going to talk about some tips and tricks for buyers to know before purchasing in 2025. But before I get to that, let me introduce my friends, my partners, my co-hosts, the fellow members of the Lyons Group. To my left, Paul, Hammy the Rockberry.
Wait.
What? What happened?
President of the San Juan County Board of Realtors.
President.
Aspen Groen.
Madam President.
The
I like
Ninja
it.
Groen.
Yes. Thank you.
Love that.
Like it. Thank you.
And the boss, Shannon Martin Martinez. My name is Ben Tippy Toe Tricky Lyons. Come on, it's tips and tricks. We gotta go. We gotta go for it.
Gonna get deep in here.
It's gonna get real deep, real quick. And yeah, Tippy Toe Tricky. Yeah, that was my high school name. So let's talk about some tips and tricks. Stop. Seriously? Shannon's holding it together over here.
I'm trying.
You two, on the other hand.
That's a good face, though.
So let's talk about some. I was thinking about this. Let's reverse engineer a buyer that we see that's successful. And like, what are some of the things, if you're watching this and you're a buyer or you're thinking about buying in 2025, what are some of the things that would make you successful? So for all of us, we've worked with very successful buyers and we've worked with buyers that have flopped a bit. What are the traits or what do some of the successful buyers do to give themselves an advantage? So let's talk about that today and delve into that a little bit. Shannon, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Hadn't really thought about it, but
like all our episodes.
I know, just being thrown here, and that's okay. So I would say some of the things is, to be successful, the very first thing is get your pre-qualification and know what you can do. And if you don't like what you see, fix it. There's a lot of things you could do to work on your credit that would change your payment amount if you have a better credit score. There's a lot of programs out there if you just do a little bit of digging with your lender about maybe getting some down payment assistance, things of that nature, which can make you get into a home quicker or easier than you thought you could. One thing I have to say, I have noticed, I have a young lady that I'm working with and she's phenomenal. She is a hardworking gal and she just got pre-qualified and she's been looking at some homes we're going to sell and buy this year. And she's been a little bit nervous about what she's getting in her price range. And I have noticed the last couple of weeks, she has gotten herself a side hustle. And now I'm noticing that she's on her social media every day, promoting her little side hustle. Now, I haven't talked to her about it. I haven't talked to her in a few weeks, but I've been noticing this and I know what she's doing. I know what she's doing. She's taking control of it. She didn't like what she was seeing. She knew we were heading into the new year. She's getting ready to buy that house and she wants that more equity to move forward with. And she's doing something about it. And so there are things that we can do to set ourselves up, even if you're not successful today and ready today. There's so many little things you could do to set yourself up for some success.
Let me unpack that just for a minute here, because what you said was pretty awesome in the sense that a buyer, first thing you have to do is become aware as a buyer, right? Like she wouldn't know she needed a side hustle or want a side hustle until she realized like, oh, everything in my price range is not really cutting the mustard. Yeah. So I'm going to have to, do something else to maybe get a bigger down payment or increase my monthly income. But the only way she would know that is why?
Going to a lender.
To a lender and really looking at the picture. I mean, it's like,
do you need to save money? Do you need help with assistance for down payment? Do you need to work on your credit? Do you need, what would you need to pay off some bills? Know what you need to do to be there. Don't just walk in and whatever they give you that's just as good as it's going to get for you. I mean, that's a tip right there. I mean, you know,
you're still running the race.
That's right. That's right. I mean, you may wait a month, you may wait a year, you may wait just 2 weeks, but go out, there's things you can fix and you can do to just improve if you don't like what you're seeing.
So successful buyers do not shy away from the ugly.
No, get your hands dirty.
It's like going to the dentist, like
roll your sleeves.
Tell me what's the good, bad, and the ugly in there, and then I'm going to work on fixing it. And you have to do that as a buyer. You have to do that. If you're going to be successful, you either got to stand in the fire and say, this is where I'm at with credit. This is where I'm at with down payment. This is what I can afford. And what can I do to change it if I'm not happy with it?
Yeah, because I think the saddest thing is if you see someone go in and they get a pre-qualification and they say, well, you can qualify for, $125,000 and you're going to need 3% down. And that person is sitting there kind of defeated going, well, I'm not going to find anything in that price range and I don't have that kind of a down payment. And so they go, well, I guess I'll keep renting. No, roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty. There are lots of things you can do to turn that around.
Yeah.
You can change things. You can get that side hustle to bring in some more money, or you can fix that credit so you can do that. Or let's go explore some other programs. Can you get a gift from a family member? Can we look at some other outside programs that are going to use some down payment assistance? Dig in and I guess take charge.
Yeah, the battle's not over. I mean, roll your sleeves up.
Yeah.
So that's a great
Just
point.
the first picture.
Madam President. You're not going to live that one down, are you?
Yeah, no.
Madam President.
She's not mad that I did that.
No, I'm just getting uncomfortable. But it was funny because Paul said, Madam President. I was like, you're going to call me that all year. I want everyone to call me that, everyone I talk to, but I didn't actually mean it.
I love it.
She meant it.
I love it. Well, and for our viewers to know, I think everyone here is pretty dang humble with how much we've served for our local association, state level, national level in certain instances. And so you deserve every bit of Madam President.
You deserve that title.
Yes, we are proud of you.
Yep,
Yes.
All right,
very much
let's
so.
move on now. So one thing I noticed, because I got into real estate, right pre-COVID, and it was really nice. It was a buyer's market. You went and saw houses and they had decisions and you really could get informed about the price or the process. And that was one thing the reason I got licensed, because not that they didn't do a good job. I just felt like I was like, hold my hand, keep going. And I just didn't really feel like I got the whole process. So whenever I got into real estate, that was always the intention. But then COVID happened, and I have to say, I just feel like I really kind of found my stride during COVID, because it felt like almost like a game, and how can you win this deal? And I wanted my clients to win. And I feel like I was very successful at that. But one thing I've been kind of thinking about the last 6 months is they kind of had that process too, but that's just how it was. You weren't going to get a house if you weren't ready to just go and move quick and decide same day. And I like that it's not like that anymore, even though I personally liked it like that. And I understand the process though. So one thing I've started doing is calling them consult clients. And we are sitting down and we are having long conversations about the process. We're going through everything much slower, much more intentionally. And that's one thing I really liked with the new buyer broker agreement, is it's saying, I'm committing this to you and here's what I will give you. And you're only working with me. Because I think the issue was before is it wasn't really necessarily realistic to put in hours and hours and hours into every client, because you would get a Zillow call or they were just shopping realtors and you just wanted to put on the best you could in that moment. And you weren't wanting to tell them, okay, let's slow down. That's not what people wanted to hear. I think that it's very important in the buying process to slow down. So I'm kind of shifting the buyer side, because the more informed a buyer is, the better decision they can make. They're not going to have, not that people weren't informed before, but
right.
If we do this every day, they don't. So ask questions, ask your lender questions, ask your realtor questions, ask your escrow agent questions. Ask as many questions as you can, because the more information you have, the more power you have. And it's just so important.
I love that when buyers ask questions.
Yep, me too.
I'm like, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Otherwise, you just assume that they know.
Exactly.
And you just trot along. But I love when a buyer engages, my very first thing is reward that with it getting excited.
Yes.
Thank you for asking that. Are there other questions? Let's talk through this stuff.
Yeah. One thing with real estate too, real estate has completely changed my life. And I want that for other people. And I'm not talking about being a realtor. I'm talking about real estate in general has changed my life. And if you're asking questions and getting more informed on your personal home purchase, if you decide you want to get into investment, it's going to make a lot more sense, because it is different, but the process is similar. So I think the more knowledgeable you are, you're opening up a whole new world of tools that you might not even have been aware you could do.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah.
So become aware of your situation brass tacks. This is what we're dealing with, black and white. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. We love that. Unless it's me and Paul. I'm asking him about lifting or I don't know, something.
Shut up.
Eating protein or banana smoothies. I don't know. Hey, what do you think?
Banana smoothie sounds good.
It is pretty good. What do you think, Paul? Reverse engineering the successful buyers that you've worked with. Like what is a trait beyond becoming aware and asking questions that you've seen with successful buyers?
Well, those are the two that I was thinking of. So now I'm having to think of something else. So I would say, informed buyers are sometimes the worst buyers. I'll go that way.
Oh, interesting. I'd like to hear this. I'm leaning in.
Have you ever had, not informed in the way you're talking about financially or your situation, but when you go to all of these websites where you can search homes, like you start to make this Frankenstein mansion of this kitchen and that bathroom and this backyard and all that stuff. And when you're buying in this area, that house doesn't exist. So I think the best trick I could give is say, what are the needs that you have in a home? Are you a cook? Do you need a bigger kitchen? Do you like to entertain? Do you need another living area?
Right.
How many bedrooms? Do you have dogs? Right. Do you need full fencing? Do you want to have animals, a horse or something like that? Do you need more land? But those are the things that you should think about instead of trying to make this dream home that is unrealistic in the area you're buying or is out of your price range. If you start out with the needs that you have, if you are going to do business out of your house, then you need to shop. So once you start making that list, that's kind of the house you should look for. But that's after you do the things that you guys talked about.
If you get your needs and budget, it's okay to have a starter home.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's called a starter home because you have to start somewhere. Yeah. And if you just stay in it 7 years, then buy a little bit nicer house and then buy a little bit nicer house. It's fine. That's how you get started.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I see people too many times going, just like you said, I can't afford,
they just stop.
Yeah. And they won't go any further than that.
And then when they can't afford it, that house is no longer that price.
Yeah.
It's now more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think I should have bought a few more houses 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. I wish I would have sold some.
I know.
So you're more the vein of understand what or prioritize your needs and wants, right?
Yeah, they took the good ones. I went last this time. So no, but I think if you start out with your once you get to the point where you can look at houses, start out with what your must-haves are, and then start looking at houses. Then if you have a little bit more wiggle room with your price, then you can start looking at the wants.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. You got to prioritize that. And then I would take it a step further and say, you got to link it to your why. Like, why are you going through this? Why are you doing that? Because that'll get you through when you get to the budget and you go, well, I really can't afford what I really wanted, but I want to buy a home. I want to be a homeowner. Like your why will carry you through those obstacles. They'll turn them into speed bumps versus like derailing your mission altogether.
You also don't know what you like. You might think you know what you like in a house until you're actually living in it. You probably don't know if it's going to actually work for you. If you're in a standard rental house and you've been in that same one for years, you might think, oh, I know exactly and I want this and this and this. But whenever you actually do it, it might not be what you're wanting.
Have you ever started working with a customer and they just got their pre-qualification? They're super excited. They go out and you look at one house and they're like, this is it. And that could be awesome because, wow, my job is made so easily. But I always try to tell people, now I'm not trying to talk you out of this, but let's look at a few first, because until you actually go look at stuff, sometimes you don't even know what you want.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, have you had a buyer say what they want and then buy the exact opposite?
No.
I've had that.
I have that all the time.
Nobody ever buys what they, exactly what they say they're going to buy. Yep. They always have their vision.
3 acres, irrigation, they end up in a condo.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's because they need to look around. Exactly. And I always tell people that, they'll go in the first place and it's exactly what and maybe we do circle back around and that was the one. But the truth is look at some places first, because really until you start looking at houses and you're like, you know what? I don't like the north facing house. It was icy every place we went on and we were looking in winter, and I don't like the dirt road. Or, I kind of like my kitchen being blocked off because, now I'm starting to notice how many dishes I leave in the sink. I don't want an open floor plan. People really when they start looking at houses, they get more thoughtful about what they want. So sometimes it takes a little bit a little bit extra.
It's almost like trial and error.
It is.
With my last house, I thought I wouldn't mind some things. And I really minded some things. Like I thought I wouldn't care that my laundry room was in the garage. I had to back my car out every time because they had a top load and I had a front load. And it did not work. But I found out I love having 2 living rooms. That's like a non-negotiable for me now because I have kids. And so you really don't know. And the 2 living room thing was not something I was even.
But you don't discover that until you go through the process.
Until you go through the process, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and then there's those things that you say, well, I can overlook this. I can move in and this isn't going to be a problem. Like I had customers that bought a house with 8 acres and they were inside people. So those 8 acres I don't even think they walked the whole property ever. But those things that you think, it's not a big deal. Turn into the thing that makes you want to move later. I think if you have a list of those, I can overlook it. Keep on looking.
What do you think about successful buyers? Do they take their time to interview realtors or do they just go with the first realtor that they talk with?
I think that's important. Yeah.
I think it depends. I think if you really click with somebody and you feel really comfortable with them and you don't feel like you're being pushed into a sale, then you should use them. But if you get a weird feeling, then you should absolutely keep interviewing people.
I have an interesting story about that. I answered a phone call one day and it was just a floor call and they had called on a sign out on La Plata somewhere, some land, vacant land. And I talked to him maybe for about 10, 20 minutes and I told him about the area and the subdivision and what was going on there and some of the sales, just like what it was like out there and just a nice little conversation. Never met them, never went out there. And a couple months later, I actually had this gal call me back and she said, I don't know if you remember me. My name is, whatever. She said, I want to write an offer on a property. It was on a place on Misty Drive in Aztec. And she said, I want to write an offer on it. I said, well, okay. And I said, do we need to set up an appointment to go look at it? And she said, no. She said, I went to an open house this weekend. I said, okay. And so I met her at the office and we started talking. So I was asking, I said, I don't understand. You already looked at this. How do you know me or, what are we doing here? And she basically explained to me that, she had been kind of looking, visiting open houses, making phone, things like that. They found this place they wanted to. And I had just resonated with them on that phone call. They felt very well taken care of. So they didn't ask the realtor that was at the open house to write for them. They got off and called me back, who they'd spoken to one time months before. But I resonated with them and I was just their gal. And that was great. I mean, I like that I can be that. I think that's important for people to have what you're saying right there. Be with that person that's going to make you feel like, this is where my success is going to be. This is who I feel like is going to hold my hand through the end and get me there.
I have a lot of friends too who are they know how busy I am and they are so worried about wasting my time that they're like, I'm so sorry. Like, could we build a house on this land? Like, we're not really looking. We're just like, or like, what do you think my house is worth? I don't know. I'm just trying to consider if I want to get a HELOC or something, which wouldn't do anything with me. I'm like, yes, please ask those questions.
Call on me. Use my knowledge.
Exactly. It really doesn't take hardly any time. And I'm happy to do it. Even if you never sell, never work with me. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. Like, even if you're just live in the same house that you are in and you live there forever that's okay. It's more knowledge.
Well, we have knowledge and skill set and we're here to share that. And, it doesn't always bring dollar for dollar business in what you're sharing or what you're doing, but I want to bring value to my community in any way that I can.
When I hurt my back, I called my doctor friend just to ask a question because I'm like, should I be?
Right.
It's okay to call and use the knowledge of your friends, Sure. It's fine.
So did he say no to the aerial yoga?
No. He
was like, yeah, do it.
Yeah, do it. I couldn't even get out of bed for a little bit there. So
well, and it speaks to both of you are super helpful. And that's what coming from the spirit of I just want to be helpful to the people I work with, regardless of it means if it's a direct sale or someone on the phone. I have to say you're probably the most helpful person I've ever talked to on the phone.
Even as another realtor. That was one of the main reasons I wanted to join this team was because every time I worked, me and Shannon would just chit chat. It was really nice.
Yeah.
It's
really
awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm always like, and we can do that. And okay. And that's wonderful. Yeah. But she's always adding like value.
Well, thanks guys.
You know how that goes. I love it, Shannon. I wouldn't have you any other way. And that's what makes you special. It's wonderful. But I think it goes to just be in the spirit of being helpful. You attract those right clients. Yeah. And if you're a buyer out there, you should resonate with your realtor. I mean, you should feel like comfortable enough to be able to pick up the phone and call Paul and say, hey, man, I haven't talked to you in 5 years, but I remember you really helped me out and I just have some questions and I don't want to waste your time. And your first response is no waste of time at all.
That just happened this last weekend.
Yeah.
And I showed a house.
Yeah. I mean, that's fantastic. You resonate with people. You're helping people.
Caught up. It was a 2-hour showing. It was a vacant house. And my wife's calling me, where the heck are you?
Do I need to call police?
Do you call 911 now?
Yeah. Do you need like a saving phone call?
Yeah, Miran, she watches the Find My iPhone and just makes sure I'm like walking in the house.
Not Bryson. I told him I was meeting these people who I didn't feel comfortable with, showing a bunch of land up in Durango. And I was like, I have a weird feeling. I need you to call me. He forgot. He forgot. And these people in these scary situations.
I remember you sharing that.
Yep. And he's like, his whole thing is, Aspen, if you're dead, what am I going to do? I'm like, find me. Right? Save me. It's your job. It's my husband.
Avenge me.
Avenge me. Yeah.
But that goes back to what I was talking about on our last podcast about being like more present on social media, bringing content, bringing value to people. You know, there are things that we can do, that we can bring to people. And that's just a level of somebody out there looking at, you know, I mean, it's not necessarily me. It could be you, or it could be someone at a different office. You know, find somebody that talks your language. Find somebody that thinks the way that you do, or that you feel like, you know, they seem like they're really out there to really do a good service for me. They want to help me out here. You know, feel that way about who you're working with.
What about searching properties? Like, is there some tips or tricks we can share with our viewers about?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
A list of 10 homes is the worst thing you could do to a realtor. Oh, actually not to a realtor, to yourself. Because we did this maybe it was last week. I showed 7 properties to one person and I told them, I go, you're not going to remember any of these houses. We're going to have to go back if you like one. And at the end, they were like, well, I like the one that had this kitchen and that bath and this kitchen and that fireplace. And I go, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You picked your top 3.
I actually disagree. I think you should go see a bunch because I feel like you don't know what you like. And also, we can look at a picture and be like, oof, that's rough, but it might look bright and good. And then they walk in and they're like, oh my gosh. And we're like, yeah, that's what it looked like in the pictures, but they are just looking at the general sense. So I think if you don't go inside the houses, they don't know to get more picky with the pictures.
Because we make our pictures look really well. I mean, that's our job is to show the property off.
Those pesky realtors. But are you saying like 10 at one time?
10 at one time. Yeah. But I'm saying, yeah, if you want to do more another day, but I try to drill down with buyers and say, what are your needs? Because if you give me 10, you have no idea what you want.
Maybe this is why I feel so busy because I'm like, let's go.
Let's go.
We're spending the day together. Right?
I'm always adding stuff to the list.
Did you pack your lunch?
Hop in the Tesla.
I'm going to be going all day.
I'll add lunch stops and I'm like, okay, we'll just grab lunch in between. Maybe that's why.
So she gets good reviews.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, but I think, you know, if you drill down at the outset and say, I don't want a manufactured house, take those 4 manufactured homes off the list.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, if I need land, don't get the condos, you know.
Right. Because we just want to see what they look like or just in case.
Yeah.
I get it.
Or out of your price range or something like that.
Something people need to stop doing, buyers need to stop doing is they walk in and they say, oh, I don't like this house. And then they stay in it for an hour. You need to stop doing that because you're focusing too much on this. Yeah. That happens a lot.
It does.
They just like stay and they're like, I don't like this. I don't like
They
this.
just bash the house.
It can get frustrating because people will stay there forever and go, you know what? They should have cleaned this and they should have painted that. Okay, well, if it's not yours, we should be on the next house because that's not what we're not here to decide what they're doing wrong. You know, this isn't for us.
That was something I wasn't expecting getting into real estate because we were looking at houses. We'd walk in and be like, nope. And we would literally just walk out and that was the end of it.
Yeah. If it's not right, it's not right.
We wouldn't even look through the whole house. We'd be like, no.
No, people want the HGTV experience. I mean, they kind of want that experience. And I understand that. But at the same time, if you go in, you should do a quick walk around just to understand because it's a baseline for
why don't you like it?
Yeah. Just a real quick. But I agree with you. You don't need to spend 45 minutes in a house you're not going to buy.
Yeah.
I've got the biggest thing. Stop asking realtors if this is a load-bearing wall.
Yes, no one knows.
Because if anybody, if any realtor tells you that it is, fire them.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. You do not know if that's a load-bearing wall.
Yeah, I've been in many, many, many attics, and I couldn't tell you if a wall's a load-bearing wall or not.
Yeah,
it's also just like we really do have to be careful because there is weird stuff in houses all the time. I had a 2-story house, and my top story was concrete, like unheard of. People thought it was so weird.
That's right.
And I was like, can I change this out? And it's like, yeah, why not? No, I could not because it was all concrete. So you just have to be really careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my AC was like connected inside my primary bathroom sink, like weird stuff.
Right.
So,
and we as realtors don't know that.
It's not like
we
we're
shouldn't be
trying to
volunteering
be
that. Yeah.
Hard. We're just, you really want to get someone else out there.
Yeah. And sometimes it can be frustrating if a buyer comes in and you're looking through the house. This is your initial look, and they're saying, what year did they, put in the whatever. I don't know. If you're interested, we can dig deeper in those things. But off the cuff, I don't own this house. I've never lived in this house. I don't even represent these people most of the time, So I don't know that. And I don't need to be throwing out, information trying to pretend like I'm super knowledgeable.
Chase down all the information before they even like it.
If it's the home that, and I would tell people that if it's the one you want, we'll get all those questions answered. We don't need to know that on our showing.
They wanted very specific things and they didn't like the house. So I did finally have to say, I thought you didn't like that house. They're like, well, we didn't. We just want, I'm like, no, we gotta focus on the one you do want because we're getting too much in the weeds here.
Yeah.
I don't mind like a weird, like, why did they do this? Fine. I want to know too, but we don't need to ask them.
I had a foreclosure I showed once, and the guy just kept insisting that, he knew that they had cats in the house, and he was just sure that, and it did smell like cats, and he was sure that there was urine all over the house. And I'm like, well, it's okay, because it's really not the one. And so he tells me one night, he goes, can we go back over to the house? Can we go there in the evening time? I really want to look at some things. And I said, I thought you really didn't want, you weren't really interested in it because it was like a cat house. And he was like, well, I just really want to take another look, and, maybe it is. Or we show up there. He's with his parents. They have a black light. They have a bet going. Now they just want to see where all the cat pee is in the house. And I'm thinking, why are we doing this? You're not buying this home. Like, we already know that it's in this house. Why are you wasting my time? Why are you wasting the seller's time? Why are you? Because they've just talked about it so much now. They've decided that it would be super cool to figure out where it's at.
Be aware of the people that you're displacing.
Don't get down in the weeds with things if you're not interested in the house. Yeah. You are asking a lot of a realtor. You're asking a lot of a seller. You're asking a lot of people, to displace themselves for a while for your pleasure.
Yeah. One last thing. We just have a couple more minutes here. What do you think about pressure on yourself if you're a buyer? Like some of the buyers I work with that get the best deals kind of take their time. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. You have to take your time, especially whenever I think there was kind of the weird thing during COVID, but I think we just need to almost like disregard that whole time because you did want to move quick. You were getting a good interest rate. Mm-hmm. It probably was going to come out in the wash. Now you have to take your time. And I think especially whenever you're looking with investment clients, good deals do come around and they come around relatively often. You don't need to get in a bidding war and make it not a good deal anymore just because you thought it was a good deal. Mm-hmm. I think people get stuck. And one thing I do tell new buyers, first-time home buyers all the time is you are going to spend a little bit of money doing your due diligence. You're probably going to spend, between $500 and $1,000 on inspections, maybe $800 on the appraisal. So you might be into it a few $1,000s and something big might come up and you need to back out. You need to just be okay with losing that money because you don't want to have to go and then replace the whole roof. And that's a $15,000. Yeah. So now you've lost $17,000 when you could have just lost $2,000. Yeah. That's why you're spending the money. I think
it's cheap insurance.
Yep. I've noticed a lot of investors don't get so much in the weeds about that stuff, but they're willing to back out. Mm-hmm. But first time home buyers really don't like to back out once they're
they feel like they're committed. They feel like they're committed. We've gone this far, mm-hmm. We just have to buy it and we'll figure it out later.
Yep. And that I think is a really big mistake.
Yeah.
So don't feel pressure. You should never feel pressure from your realtor. You should never feel pressure from your lender. You should not you. I was just meaning I'm just talking with my hands.
From this realtor right here, you should never feel pressure from this man right here.
No, if you're feeling any sort of push or pressure, you need to find a new person.
Yeah.
And that's not to say okay, we've canceled 3 houses now. Do you really want to buy? That's not pressure.
Right.
But trying to force a deal to work.
Yeah.
Because we always want to give good advice. If you think somebody's staying on the fence too long and look, there's 3 deals, please do not bid 20,000 under. That's not pressure. That's good advice. Mm-hmm. But I agree with what you're saying. Yeah. If you're really feeling like you're being shoved into something, that's not a good fit.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just not. You're in control.
I agree. And
another deal will come along.
There will always be another deal. And we got to wrap it up. We've had had some great tips. Hopefully you gleaned a lot of tips. I mean, everything from being aware to prioritizing your list, to, making sure you resonate with the right realtor, to doing your search the right way, taking your time, asking questions, a lot of tips for buyers. And hopefully you can take that and parlay it into your situation, your strategy to purchase your next property or your first property. If you like our content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to our Facebook page. We have all kinds of great content there. We send out a fantastic newsletter. Go to sjcbroker.com. You can schedule a consultation with any one of us here at the Lyons Group. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, we can give you an advantage in today's market. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Den. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to The Den, powered by the Lyons Group. Hit the subscribe button to keep informed on real estate happenings. If you'd like to learn more about the Lyons Group, visit sjcbroker.com. Complex markets require complex strategies. The Lyons Group can give you a true advantage in any market. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, contact us directly at sjcbroker.com. We're time-tested experts with a client-first approach, and we'll see you next time in The Den.